London, June 1920. John Hathaway is desperate and at his typewriter. Burgess, I was a fool to believe you could capture and bind death to bring back Edmund. You couldn't even bring back the right bloke. Dream? Oh, good one, yes, that'll do it. You are the physical embodiment of folly, Burgess, and when this note I write reaches the right people, the truth will out and be documented in comics, streaming, and most importantly of all, audiobooks, in which I am played by Anton Messer. Little do you know, I have composed a separate note to Double Death to sort you out. Now you'll be sorry. Adelaide, September 2021. Apathy throws away a note from Double Death, mistaking it for a final demand gas bill, and sits in his library of spoken word, chewing on a damp cloth.
Damp cloth.
He huddles over his dusty keyboard, working on an even dustier script, bound for sharing with his lesser and simpler colleague Bewilderment. He is a tall, stiff, yet highly flexible and foldable figure with two monocles, one for each eye. Wrapped in a high-vis orange cape and wearing lime green winkle pickers, he is tired. He's been working on this script for some years now, but been frustrated by strange events that surely only happen in dreams. His acres of aubergine crops blighted by scurvy, and his castle victim of the nearby sewage plant explosion, leaving him and his study and his pet ostrich covered in a perma-effluent. But now, finally, he types the first words on his disgustingly sticky keyboard. Words that, when he utters them, are just as vile and unsettling as the result of the sewage explosion.
Welcome to Audio Book Club. Hello, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Steve, and this is Audio Book Club, where we review and recommend audiobooks. And in this episode, ahead of the arrival of its sequel and its release as a Netflix series, we're revisiting an audiobook which we firmly reckon was made with the highest budget in the medium's history, and that's The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. Matt, how are you feeling about this one?
To be honest, Steve, I've been slightly stressed.
Oh, really?
Well, it's...
Oh, so hang on.
There's a lot of pressure on this one.
You should be sitting on that couch behind you there and tell me about your history of your family and relax a little bit.
What we're dealing with here, in terms of budget alone, I mean, the cast is stellar. We're dealing with possibly the most significant audiobook of all time. And I actually read it a year ago and had to return to it and find something to say about it that hadn't been said already. The book is just epic, really, in terms of the story. Epic and intense are overused words these days, but in terms of its story, the cast, the production, both of the soundscape and of the dialogue, I mean, it's phenomenal. But a lot of people have... I'm afraid of science fiction fans, Steve, because a lot of them are quite attached to the material. And I know nothing about The Sandman. I didn't read the graphic novels for obvious vision impairment reasons. So I come to this sort of as an audiobook. And it's slightly overwhelming to find something to say about it that's simple and will fit into 40 minutes. But I think we're going to be okay. What I'm most excited about, actually, is the fact that... was your reaction to it?
I tell you, so... like you, I hadn't come to the graphic novel, so I come to this, to the whole of, to be honest, the whole of Neil Gaiman's world. I mean, I've seen his Doctor Who episodes, and I know about his work, and I've heard about Neverwhere, and I remember the trailers being on and things like that, and Good Omens, of course, on Amazon that he did with Terry Pratchett. So I was coming to this as an audiobook, and even from the cover behind you, it looks like a movie. And when I heard it, and I was playing it in the car, the whole thing, it just sorted out my car journey, and it was the closest thing I've heard to an audio movie ever. The soundscape, the bass, that it was beautiful as a piece of audio. It was absolutely stunning. The content, of course, is incredibly accessible as well. As you know, in our previous episode, my thing is with audiobooks, it's kind of biographies or political history, things like this, really gripping stuff and inspirational subjects, depending on who it is. But this is the first piece of fiction I've absolutely loved. I completely loved it. I just gorged the whole thing, the whole 10 hours pretty quickly, because of the narrative, the characterization, the cast, the way it sounded, the music, it was just, I think we should just wrap it up here and just say, go download. See you next week.
Yeah, and you're right, and it's a unique experience, and it's interesting that you seem slightly overwhelmed by the number of things you want to say about it there, and that's been precisely my problem. The cast... Right, there are about 60 people in it, and there are the main stars: James McAvoy, Taron Egerton, Riz Ahmed, Kat Dennings, like all big names shining up. Michael Sheen, one of my favourites. There's some lovely footage of him recording the audiobook online, wearing what I can only describe as a white trash murderer's vest, and he's fabulous. But again, even at that point, you're going, this is an abundance of riches. And then you add to that the fact that Amazon, in some territories, I've got 2 Audible accounts, and you can actually get it for free. Not just free as the trial before you sign up, but also free if you're already a member. Obviously, they're trying to sell the second book, which comes out in about 10 days' time. But all of this is, how are we going to boil this down and tell people what we think about it and have an opinion? So this is precisely why I've been overwhelmed. And also, I'm one of those homework on the bus people. So I read it a year ago. I had a busy week last week, and then a weekend with two 9-year-olds. You say the material is accessible, but some of it is downright disturbing. So it's not one where you can wander around the house with it blaring out of your pocket as you do the laundry or sweep the garden with kids around, because there are some really no, seriously, that's what I normally do. That's how listening to audiobooks takes a lot of time. So I've been sitting there going, I haven't done homework. How am I going to do my homework? And then I sort of went, okay. Yeah.
I do remember this actually, because you are kind of bimbling along and listening to as a narrator. I can't think of another author who narrates so beautifully as Neil Gaiman, to be honest with you. When he narrates the whole thing, and he'll be beautifully describing the scene, painting the picture, and then he'll chuck in tantric sex, and you're listening to it blaring loud at the bus stop or something.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you were able to do it driving, because, as you say, the description of the tantric sex will be accompanied by appropriate squealing and sound effects, and I'm surprised you were able to keep your car on the road, to be honest, Steve.
You keep the windows up. I was on on motorway at the time. It's a pretty safe environment, to be honest with you, for the filthy bits, the filthy bits. Yeah.
Tantric sex at 70 miles an hour, that's never been safe, Steve.
On the M6, yeah, you're right.
So I then went, okay, let's go back to basics. And the way you and I normally do things, and we haven't been able to do it this time because we're too busy spewing opinions already, is we start by going, is the source material any good? Let's look at the writing first. And certainly the initial story, where basically a cult leader in the early 20th century tries to capture death, accidentally catches his brother Morpheus, Dream, and holds him in a crystal cell for 70 years, and the ramifications of all of that. The story is brilliant. And I think the first 2 to 3 chapters, so the first hour and a half, follows that story and death being released 70 years later, and basically what's happened to in the meantime to people. Within the first 5 minutes, you're already looking at how the absence of Morpheus has affected people, and there's been an epidemic of sleeping sickness, and we zoom down into places as diverse as Paris and the Caribbean and Crowborough, and that's great. That makes sense. And then the next 17 episodes are different stories that spin off from this. I have to say, as much as we are blowing smoke up this book's rear end, and many of those stories work and are phenomenal, funnily enough, the final one, the version of Midsummer Night's Dream, doesn't work for me, to be honest. It feels like they're trying to wedge literary references in. But what I did do was because it's recorded in I think it's 20 episodes, and they're all 20 to 40 minutes long, is I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my virtual audio digital bookshelf and pull down one volume. So I had a listen to chapter 14, which just the premise is absolutely brilliant. It is set at a convention of mass murderers in a hotel in the middle of the desert in the United States. It's brilliant. And I wanted to play this clip, which is well up your alley, which is the administrative details of attending a mass murderer conference in the same way that you would attend, well, it's a paper sales conference is the one that we use, isn't it? Here's a clip.
Dusk at the Yellowhammer Hotel, Dodge County, Georgia. A white half moon is already shining overhead. It seems like the late autumn wind blows them in this night, spinning and dizzying from the four corners of the world.
Dodge County News, a human arm has been found this evening.
It is a bitch wind, knife sharp and cutting, and it blows bad and cold.
She has eyes, the men adore so, and a torso.
And they come with it, scurrying and skittering, like yellow leaves and old newspapers, from 1,000 places and from nowhere at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever serial convention. Please welcome our friend, organizer, and fellow collector, Nimrod.
It's really good to see so many of us here. So many. This is the first of these cons, and if you want to see another, a few rules we must adhere to. Firstly, use your preferred sobriquet. No civilian names. Secondly, we don't shit where we eat. You all know that. Particularly now, and here, when so many of us would be at risk. Nobody does any collecting until the convention's over and you're at least 200 miles away. Thirdly, on a more...
12:30 p.m. Panel discussion. Women in serial killing.
I tell you, I'm sick and tired of women in our line being stereotyped as black widows or killer nurses. I'm a serial killer and a woman, and I'm proud of it.
I really liked this story. This is the one with the Corinthian in it as well, isn't it? This one.
Yeah, you see, again, I don't. Who is the Corinthian?
Riz Ahmed.
Having
Riz Ahmed.
No. But in terms of the Corinthian as a cultural reference to me, as you know, a gentleman amateur, a science fiction fan, the Corinthian as a character doesn't mean anything, but seems to. I'm obviously supposed to recognise who or what the Corinthian is instantly. So in effect, it is quite. There is a kind of an in-crowd bit in it. There are a lot of in-jokes and in-references that perhaps you wouldn't get once you drill down past all the pomp and ceremony and the cast list that makes you giggle with glee because they've spent that much money on an audiobook. There are just some bits, you say accessible, that I didn't get the reference. What is a Corinthian?
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. There were times when I had to rewind and just listen to stuff again and kind of get the feel of it. Actually, it's interesting when I finished listening to the whole of the Sandman Part 1. I actually went back and listened to Chapter 1 again to actually just. Because I couldn't quite take it in the first time out. You're kind of being taken on, you're kind of taken along the journey, and you're kind of trying to follow the storyline. But when you come back to that chapter and you know everything, the chapter 1 is just brilliant. It makes complete sense, and you completely love it. Because I was kind of, as hard, am I going to get into this sort of thing? That's what you're thinking through chapter 1. Has this chapter captured my imagination? And it completely did. And I carried on listening to 2, 3, 4, up to 20, and then went back to 1 to actually go, actually, this is actually a brilliant story. And I found it very accessible, probably on second listening than first. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, so the first actor whose voice you hear after Neil Gaiman's, I think I'm correct in saying, is one of my favourite actors of all time, Anton Lesser, who I don't think has ever held together a Hollywood blockbuster, but in the tradition of the British character actor, he normally plays somebody with tortoiseshell glasses who is either a beleaguered administrator or an evil bastard or both. And to have him actually being both at the beginning of this is fantastic. But yeah, then you're going to go, yeah, I need to listen to that again. To actually, it was sensational to be given that as a gift. But I need to go back and listen to it again. And perhaps that's what it's about. I don't know if you sat through Tenet yet, the Christopher Nolan film.
No.
Okay, so Tenet...
I will do.
Time travel nonsense. And basically, the film only makes sense the second time you watch it. And I didn't bother watching it a second time because it was a load of garbage. This, on the other hand, I think makes more sense the second time. You can return to it, as you say. And I enjoyed selecting a volume off my virtual digital audio shelf and enjoying it again. It does stand up to...
So did you hop around? Did you listen to the whole thing first time out chronologically, or did you hop around after he got all his...
The first time I listened to it all the way through.
Okay.
The second time I got as far as the main story, the beginning story, which, as I say, is the first 2 or 3 chapters, and enjoyed listening to it again. But time didn't allow me to have time to myself to listen to the whole book again. So again, I felt it was a valid exercise to listen to the Collector's Act 1, Chapter 14, as you quite rightly point out. It was, yeah, I think there's an interesting thing. We've gone totally off track. So what we were meant to do, Steve, was we were meant to start with saying, is the source material any good? And the answer is
yes.
Yes, it's fantastic. The scope and scale of the written source material is brilliant. It does sag in places, I think, but that's in 11 hours. You're bound to have. You can't have them rolling in the aisles for a full 11 hours. We've been doing this for 20 minutes, and I think about 17 of it's been rubbish. So it'd be hypocritical.
Yeah, and I'm boring myself. Yeah,
it would be hypocritical of me to accuse Neil Gaiman of having a little bit of flab on his material. But the source material is good. It's good enough to make you want to go back and investigate it again. And the next thing you and I normally do is we talk about the production.
Yeah.
Which in the case of most of the books we read is, how does a single voice artist read it? And in this case, it's a full cast recording with the author as narrator, soundscapes, and full orchestration, or fullish orchestration. So there's a lot more for us to chew into there. In terms of the main narrator, Neil Gaiman, I like his voice. I know it irks some people, and also it's not quite as polished as somebody who's been to RADA. But I don't mind that, because you know it's the voice of the person who wrote it. I mean, I wish my voice sounded a bit more like his, a bit more gravelly, a bit more ponderous. His pace is really interesting.
I guess back to an original question I just sort of put forward a little while ago. I can't think of another. You probably might come up with loads of them, actually. Another narrator who was the author as well in an audiobook.
We did Obama recently, didn't we? But that's not a narrator. That's somebody reading the text they've written.
No, but in fiction, you know. So did John le Carré ever sort of voice a couple of his own books, you know, or whatever? Obviously, there are some authors who couldn't have possibly, audio booked their own work. You know, Shakespeare, for example, that's a tricky one. And so on. Anyone pre-audio book, really, but I just feel that, to your point, the fact that Neil Gaiman not going to RADA, he's not an actor, he is the author, but he's going to know better than anyone else where the intonation's going to be, where the emphasis is going to be, because he wrote the words.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
And I think that carries it through. So if you were to objectively, if this weren't part of Sandman and he were on his own narrating the book without sound effects and an orchestra in the background, it might be quite heavy listening.
Yeah.
His pace and his delivery are really interesting. They're slow, but and in there somewhere that allows for gravitas and mystery. So that's great.
And accessibility as well. Accessibility, because I needed that to be slow, because obviously the words are key.
Yeah.
But he really made it accessible as well, because he was reading it at a speed where I could kind of really follow it as well. As someone who doesn't really follow this stuff, he made it accessible for me because of his style.
But I mean, I'm coming up with this point as I speak to you, but 11 hours of him reading that dry, as we call it in the industry, i.e. without music underneath it, or indeed the production around it, I think would be too much. So,
yeah.
But that isn't the case. So there is a full cast, and the full cast are great. I sometimes really regretted that I couldn't quite identify which cast member was which. There are two real highlights that have stuck with me. As I said, when you got Joanna Lumley and Miriam Margolyes on the also ran section of the cast list, you know you're going to be fine.
Absolutely.
My two favourite performances were slightly smaller ones. The performance of the person who plays Abel out of Cain and Abel is brilliant, and it was basically somebody doing a really good Vincent Price impression. And it was so good that I actually, even though it's a bit part in chapter 4, I needed to find out who that was, and trawled the internet and eventually found out that it was a guy called Kerry Shale, who is funnily enough, he does full audiobooks, including the Jack Reacher ones.
He did a show on One Word when I was working there years ago, and I can't.
Did he? Yeah. So I mean, he
long time ago.
American, based in London, great actor, has real chops in the audiobook space. Was clear. I don't know whose idea it was for him to do it as Vincent Price. Then, and here's one that's right up your alley, this really did take me a long time. I spent an hour looking for this last night.
Yeah.
In the collector's edition, there is the person who we heard in that clip, who is the guy who's convening the conference. The name of the character is Funland. Again, I'm sure there's a reference there that I'm not getting. But I went, that's got to be either Matt Stone or Trey Parker, because it sounds like somebody playing old Cartman. And Cartman, for me, is one of the best comic voices of all time. And it turned out, get this, to be Mitch Benn.
No, really?
But I had to go into the depths. I spent a lot of time Googling last night, Chapter 14, Sandman, voice, Funland, and I eventually found it by getting to cast member 63 on IMDb. So there are loads of these hidden treasures in there that you don't even get.
I mean, you got Reginald D. Hunter in this.
Love him.
Sue Johnston as Unity Kincaid.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not have had her down for that. Josie Lawrence is in this. Mad Hetty. Who
irritates me every time I hear her voice.
Really?
She's just one.
Legend.
Partly because she's so ubiquitous because she can do everything, and partly because she's been doing everything since Whose Line Is It Anyway, the original UK version with Clive Anderson in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm sick of the sound of her. But again, it shows... But that's part of the problem here, Steve, I think. There's an abundance of riches. Yes, it bears a second examination. Yes, you can go back and actually it's bloody brilliant, isn't it? You can go back and go, who the hell is that? I recognise that voice. I'm sure I know that. Oh no, I was wrong. It was someone totally different.
Yeah.
It's not a straight read. The cast is great. Is it the world's most expensive gimmick? I don't know.
I mean, my view on this is that it was so well put together, so well acted. I don't think there was really. I can't think of any weak link, really. Everyone seemed to be able to really lend their voice to exactly the character they needed, especially Abel. I really thought he was incredible. I mean, I felt so sorry for him. So sorry for him. He kept getting screwed over every time. And
so the gag is that it's Cain and Abel, but they're immortal. So Cain keeps killing Abel over and over again.
It reminded me of when they were really nasty to Gollum in Lord of the Rings, you know, and he was just this pathetic kind of creature, and you really felt that in his voice, you know, because of the actor, because of Kerry Shale, you know.
But did it sound like Vincent Price to you? Did you pick up on that, or was it just the character?
Not until you just did that just then. I didn't pick up on that.
But again, that's the depth of the cast. Sorry, I'm just Googling. I just want to make sure. Sorry.
By the way, while you're Googling, Patterson Joseph's in this as well. We need to kill our customers. You know?
I'm just going to check something. Mr. Selfridge, the Sandman. So, see, again, because of somebody in the cast, I'm now rushing off to Google again to
who's
to the internet.
Sandra Dickinson's in this.
I know. I couldn't find her.
Trillian in Hitchhikers. I'm assuming.
No, to me, she's surely Peter Davison's wife.
Former.
Insert link below to British gas adverts, or I think it was either gas or electricity adverts in the 1980s, where actually she and Peter Davison, who I think are possibly the grandparents of a future Doctor Who, as well as the father-in-law of the parents-in-law.
We're getting into another TV show. Well, it's a TV show, but
we're going down a rabbit hole.
We'll save this for the big finish review.
Two mates talking about this book can go down numerous rabbit holes. So let's bring it back. Let's go. So we've done the source material, the writing. The writing is good. Yeah. We have done the delivery. The delivery is done by a narrator who wouldn't stand up on his own necessarily, but he's perfect for this. Surrounded. His somewhat lugubrious, gravelly delivery is supported and in perfect contrast to the whiz-banging production and cast that's going on around him.
Yeah.
The cast are really good. I mean, look at the conversations we've spontaneously had. We've wandered off down many different alleyways to talk about the cast. The next thing we have to talk about is that soundscape and production that surrounds the voices of the cast. So the music and the sound effects. Steve, what did you think?
I mean, Dirk Maggs has a real, obviously he's got a reputation that really precedes him, for what he's produced down the years. I mean,
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
Right. So for anyone who doesn't know, Dirk Maggs is credited with the dramatization of this book. If you know who he is, and if you're a medium geek, you'll probably know who he is. And he is the person who did all of the soundscapes for things like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is the original best science fiction audio only dreamscape. He provides the atmosphere. He is credited on this one as basically being the co-dramatizer and co-author with Neil Gaiman, which I think makes sense. What he does is he'll take the original material, rewrite it so that it works for radio, cast and work with the actors, direct the actors, and then work with the technical people who compose the music and put together the sound effects, put together a series of sound effects to make it feel like you're immersed in something. This is what he does. This is his skill. How did he do, Steve?
Just stunning. I mean, this is. I don't know if this has been put up for awards, but it needs to be. He really. The fact he's down as having, he's adapted it, he's directed it, and it has to be hand in hand with the sound production of it, and so those elements have to be together in order to really kind of carry it off. And the same guy doing it, I'm guessing here, but as he's adapting it and as he's writing it, he may well be forming that can sound like this. Then we'll bring in the orchestra at this point, this sort of thing. And what he's introduced, just from the tiniest sound effects to, he draws you into a universe. He draws you into the most expensive movie ever in your head. That's what he's done. Yeah,
100%. And you're taken to, it opens with the clacking sound of a typewriter that conveys, First World War time institution. You can see it. It's a grey room in a head with a single light bulb in one of those American prison style shades pointing down. You can hear that from the typewriter. And in various cases, people also, it's the attention to detail, as you say. There's a lot of smoking going on in this book. It's never mentioned, but
the smoking. Actually, I mean, this is bad for your health, by the way, everybody. But naturally, I'm not exactly pointing out the obvious here. But the sound of smoking is extremely attractive in it.
Or indeed alarming. And look, within the first chapter, you're in Paris, you're in the Bahamas, you're in Crowborough, and you can picture the scenes in your head.
Oh, yeah.
When, again, as I say, listen to chapter 14 again last night, The Collectors, which is based in a hotel in the desert. And it's little things like the sound of the televisions in the background in the motel bedroom that bring it alive. And what Dirk Maggs is able to do is start with a blank piece of paper and decide what the key elements of sound are that will bring that to life in your imagination, and then make it with nothing but a couple of microphones and a computer. He's basically got the same materials that you and I have, and you and I are two blokes talking, and he creates the most expensive movie you've ever seen, as you say. I think that's it. So I think we've done it, haven't we? We've done it. So the written material's good, the production is good, and the whole thing is a pleasurable experience, and the budget is perhaps justified by the fact that it's something you can revisit. You and I got lost talking about it. There's so much there. But my question for you, Steve, and I think it's one that you touched on last time we spoke about this, is it actually an audiobook?
Well, yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? An audiobook in its strictest sense is the narrator reads a book and that's it. Now, this is where in the time we've started doing this, audio's really exploded from podcasts, audiobooks. Audiobooks aren't a new thing, you know. I've got Tom Baker reading Doctor Who State of Decay from 1970 or 1980 or whatever. But the thing is, it's grown so much. The advent of Audible coming in and just really pumping a lot of money and a lot of effort into creating, you know, they're really giving a lot of people a run for their money, sort of more traditional broadcasters and so on. It's just become such a huge thing. It's anything sensory going in your ears where you're being told a story. I think that should be included in an audiobook. The Sandman is a comic to start off with, but you turn the pages of a comic. You know, when does a comic become a book? Graphic novel. You know,
graphic novel. Yeah, it's not a comic. It's not a coffee. They're not toys. They're collectibles, Steve.
Yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, exactly. It's not. Yeah. That's it. Oh, I can't wait to get my hand on those audio action figures. That'd be weird.
That's a lovely point. Absolutely lovely point.
This is the thing. Is that, I mean, for me, I love that. I was immersed in this. It was, you know, a full cast audio drama are being produced en masse as well, the same as audiobooks. And I think, you know, anything that's going to entertain you in your ears is, you know, I'm basically saying we should maybe expand our remit. What would you call it? You know, what would you call it?
Well, I think what you call it when we spoke over the phone before doing this was a full cast production. And you used the word BBC style, and both you and I met while working for the BBC. You and I are huge fans of the BBC,
yeah,
and it courses through our veins public service broadcasting to inform, educate, and entertain. To do something good, but also to do it well.
Yeah,
if you see what I mean. That's you know, since I mean, you mentioned Doctor Who occasionally. You know, that was a program that excited and engaged children, but also snuck in some, and still does, sneaks in some lessons about history and some lessons about science.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is when broadcasting, which is my original career, was doing its best thing. It's the Lord Reith, who was I think the original chairman of the BBC back in the 1920s, said, inform, educate and entertain.
Yeah.
And over the years, it's attracted the best people. The BBC doesn't have to make a profit. The BBC in its pomp in the 90s and 70s and 80s, budgets were, of course, an issue, but the main the main thing going on was the people trying to make the best programs they possibly could. And they had freedom from some of the restraints that commercial radio and television had. So actually, your one sentence that it's like a full BBC drama recording. You know, the BBC used to have a rep company. They used to have actors on retainer, like the RSC, the Royal Shakespeare. What's the C in Royal Shakespeare Company? That's the one. They used to have actors on retainer. And to just have them hanging around for when you needed them. So this is that, and it is a brilliant piece of work. But I have a slight concern. And
all right, yeah.
My concern is you're aware, of course, of Jeremy Clarkson of Top Gear and the Grand Tour fame, aren't you?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when he had to leave the BBC, Amazon picked him up to produce a similar program. And the budget per episode for the Grand Tour went as high as £4 million per episode. And that number sticks in my head as I should imagine that's about what this cost to make. Now, the interesting thing with Amazon is they don't have to make a direct profit off that, as they don't have to make a direct profit off this. The idea is that when people sign up for Amazon Prime, Amazon can track what the first program they watch is. And remember, when you sign up for Amazon Prime, you're paying, in the UK, £70 a year to have Prime Music, Prime Video, and your stuff delivered half a day earlier by drone, whatever. So the sums of money paid to the Grand Tour's presenters and the budget they spent, £4 million an episode producing stuff, actually, Amazon were getting a great deal because they saw how many people signed up for the £70 a year contract, which again, people will probably renew. And then when they logged into Prime Video, the first thing they watched was the Grand Tour. So apparently it worked out at about a £17 cost per acquisition. The cost for them to acquire that new customer, if what they dragged in was $17. So basically, Amazon, it was cheaper than making the Grand Tour was cheaper than advertising on television in the end. This, I feel, is the same. So part of what the Sandman does when they give it away for free is encourage people to join Audible, but also go, actually, they just gave me this enormous thing for free. Maybe I won't cancel my subscription after all. The reason you and I started doing this is because of the experience that you, I, and others have had, that after 6 months of your Audible subscription, it goes 6 credits remaining, a total of £42 worth of money. So the idea of this, the reason Amazon could throw so much money at it is because it keeps people, it either brings people in to a year's contract and locks them in and ends up costing them £84 or $165 for a year, and then they forget to cancel it, or it makes people like you and me go, this audiobook stuff isn't so bad after all. And then the next thing you do is you go, what shall I read next? And I've been trying to read all of the promoted audiobooks, and one that you've seen the little square pink graphic for, with the subtle art of not giving a beep.
Give me an F.
I read that, and it's an odious, noxious piece of shite. Frankly, it's deplorable, and we're not going to review it
next
on
week's
this
episode. Then,
no, we're not going to spend 45 minutes reading it. I've read it, and we do say read it here because that's allowed. I've read it, so you don't have to.
Appreciate
but the
that.
whole thing is the audiobook experience isn't always this. And I mean, Jeff Bezos has got spaceships to pay for, and Neil Gaiman is too busy doing his Netflix series to worry about what the effect of this audiobook is. But I wonder if the net effect of this audiobook is that people is going to be disappointment. Is going to be in the end a net negative for the audiobook as a form, because they're not all that good, are they, Steve?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little more superficial. I loved it. I loved it. I did. I really loved it. I can't. I can't. You know, this is opened a whole new world for me. Certainly in the audiobook form, it was absolutely brilliant. And I'm just. We're doing this because obviously the sequel's out very, very soon. Have you seen the cast list for the sequel? I mean, we're talking Brian Cox is Augustus. We've got David Tennant as Loki. Bill Nye's in it as Odin. Kevin Smith, you know, Clarkson, you know, Jay and Silent Bob and everything. He's in this as well.
Yeah, and we will read it.
I've been sucked in again. By the stellar cast.
And we will read it and we will love it. But again, my attention was drawn to Audible's monopoly of the audiobook market. It was first mentioned to me back in 2013 by somebody who runs an independent production company. And at the time, basically Amazon had come in with a huge truckload of cash and signed all of the major publishers into an exclusive deal to publish their audio, to distribute, because that's what Amazon do in an informal Audible in this case, is they distribute audiobooks and make them available. Their platform makes them available. It's an online bookshop. Like the rest of Amazon's business, but because they had the money behind them to do it, they were able to scoop up everything. And you know what? I'd really like to hear Miriam Margolyes read an audiobook. I must go and look and see if she does one. I'm just concerned that Audible, Amazon are the only player in the field. When you and I talk about audiobooks, we assume that we're talking Amazon Audible. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, I've read nearly 400 audiobooks. Only one of them was on Google Play Books. And the might of this, again, it's just possibly because I was trying to find something to say, but it made me think not just of the production and what it's like to listen to it, but what the effect of it is. And I have to say, I'm concerned that it will lead to disappointment and be a net loss for the audiobook as form, as people's associations with audiobook going, yeah, I listened to that Neil Gaiman one, it was great, and then I just had 6 credits at the end of the year, so I stopped it and I felt I got ripped off by Amazon, which I guess makes it our job, if we're going to be that pompous, to make sure that we showcase the best. The thing that when you start doing something as an enterprise, the thing you're told to do is identify a need. What you and I identified first was that whole, you've got 6 credits left. You've got 42 quid's worth of Audible credits sitting around. Rather than it being a disappointment, why don't we help people to find good stuff to listen to? And actually, I think listening to The Sandman, or trying to listen to The Sandman a second time, and enjoying the bright, shiny thing that it is, have made me realise that thing we said a little while ago is actually more important than we thought. So I think it's refocused my mind on trying to give people good audiobook recommendations so that they don't, as I say, walk away in 6 months' time feeling that they've been ripped off by Jeff Bezos and funded his spaceship because he reeled them in with a stellar cast production and then left them with poor voice actors reading shoddy books.
It's a good point. And with all that...
So let's keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
I'm justifying what we're doing by saying
and
that.
With that said, we're going to be back reviewing part 2 of the Sandman. Great plug for the next one. As soon as it comes out. So if you want to get involved in the conversation, the hashtag is audiobook club. You can leave a comment on our YouTube videos, on our podcast channels, on our Facebook page. Just search for.
Tell them about the forum, Steve.
We've also got a message board because it's 1997 as well. I keep plugging that one. Yeah, so if you want to join our forum, because it's 1997, then do join us on that. Well, the website address was for the forum is
audiobookclub.net.
There you go, audiobookclub.net for the forum, and we will see you soon. But keep talking about the Sandman because we loved it. But with a reason for loving it, of course, underlying that. We'll see you next time on Audiobook Club for Sandman Part 2.